Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. Today we are going to talk about my placement. We're going to do sort of a placement debrief. I've just finished my first block of placement, which was amazing. So today we're going to just talk about what departments I was in, how I found them, what I've learnt so far, and things like that. So at the hospital I'm working at, they have different teams, and the purpose of these teams is to deal with specific women and their conditions in pregnancy and whatnot. So I was in a team that dealt with gestational diabetes and some other complications to do with pregnancy, but mainly gestational diabetes. The idea is to make sure that you're giving continuity of care. So that means that these pregnant women would see familiar faces in like their appointments and when they go on labour ward, hopefully. So yeah, I really like the idea of the team so that women are seeing familiar faces. So that was the first thing I liked. So for the past 5 weeks, I have been on the antenatal clinic, I've been in the labour ward, and I've also been in the postnatal ward. I was also on the day assessment unit, which is where you get women walking in with like all sort of like issues and stuff, or they get referred from clinic, but I wasn't there as often. So I thought it'd be good to break down those departments, what I enjoyed, what I found, what I learned in all of them. So I started off in antenatal clinic. So clinic was lovely. I really enjoyed clinic. I think it was such a nice place to meet new people and just hear people's stories. And when doing booking appointments, which is where you like log the pregnancy onto the system, I guess, or just like register their pregnancy so they get the care they need. It's just lovely because you get to speak with these women and their family. It's quite a long appointment, so you get to know them a bit at the end, and you're just like knowing them. And it's good with the continuity of care because then you'll see them later, they already know you, they're comfortable with you, and I love that. As a student in the clinic, you can actually help with quite a lot. From my first day, I was doing palpations. For those of you who don't know what that is, that's just like feeling the tummy and finding out the position of the baby, determining whether it's breech. So breech means that the bum is the presenting part. So yeah, I did a lot of palpating, I did a lot of blood pressures, urine samples. I got very familiar with people's urine during this placement because you just check urine every appointment. They get their urine checked with the dipstick, so I got very familiar with that very quickly. I really loved doing the palpations because it was just so awesome to actually feel a baby through a tummy and feel where the positioning is and stuff. And then I also got to help out with finding the heartbeat, helping mums listen to their baby, and it's so awesome doing that for the first time because it's like the mum hears the baby and they're like, they get that relief, and it's just awesome. So yeah, as a student on the antenatal clinic, you can do quite a lot, and my mentor also actually helped me to become confident with like asking women questions, especially during booking appointments. I actually co-ran some booking appointments, which was really fun, and ended up doing like one by myself. It's a lot of personal questions, so if you haven't been to a booking appointment before, if you do go to one, be prepared to answer some very personal and weird questions, but it's all part of the care, and we ask those questions to everyone, which is one of the things I had to explain to some people because they are very weird questions. The midwife I was working with looked after women with gestational diabetes, so that's pregnancy-induced diabetes basically, and a lot of our appointments included teaching them how to measure their glucose levels at home, so giving them the kit to measure it with and telling them how to track it. They had a little book to fill and to call us if they get too high, too low, and if they were too high, we would review them in the appointments and then refer them for medication if they needed to be on medication. Every appointment you check a woman's obs, so observations, and you check her urine and you ask her if she has any questions, if there's anything she's worried about, have a little chat, make her comfortable. One thing I also realized is that a midwife's job is so diverse. Like, you're literally so many things at once. You have to ask women about domestic violence, but if their partners aren't there, or if their partners are there, you have to ask that in a different appointment where they come by themselves. So I just got an insight into how like midwives have to be super alert and really listening to women, paying attention to her movements, everything, just assessing the situation just in case you need to make a safeguarding referral or you're worried about something or worried about her. So I just got a really good insight, especially in the clinic, as to how alert a midwife needs to be about, you know, even language that a woman might be using, or her tone, she might be different from the last appointment, like just picking up on different things about the woman and making sure that she's fine. The second department I worked in was the labour ward. First placement, threw us in the deep end, straight to the labour ward. Yeah, it was crazy at first. You get to the labour ward and you hear all these abbreviations. You hear TOP, you hear ARM, you hear SHROM, you hear PPROM, you hear all of these kind of different abbreviations, and you're like, whoa, everyone's talking in like a different language. But after a while you will get used to it. So if you do go on your first placement and you feel like deer in headlights, don't worry, after a few shifts you'll get the hang of it. Take like a little notebook with you to write down all these different abbreviations, or everything that you don't understand, just write it down, because that really helps to go home and like find out what it is. Then next time you can hear about it and you're like, oh, I know what that is. The pace of the labour ward is completely different compared to antenatal clinic, where it's more slow. You know, you're just talking with women, you're not really doing actual like clinical stuff, like apart from, you know, you do take blood sometimes in the clinic, or, you know, blood pressure, stuff like that, observations. And the labour ward, they're actually having the baby, so it's very much a different pace. I enjoyed it though, I really enjoyed it. I won't lie, it can get very like, whoa, at times. You're dealing with high risk women, you can have low risk women as well, but you know, it's most likely high risk women with some sort of potential complication, or, you know, you can have emergency C-sections going on, or you have elective C-sections going on. So it's just a lot going on in one ward. I love the fast-paced environment. I love the rush of it. I think some people would describe it as a rush. So if you're not like good with like high pressure environments, then labour ward might not be for you, but I definitely say just go for it when you're there. I did get my first 2 births, which I'm like so happy about. They were so awesome. I got my witnesses, obviously. You have to get your witnesses before you get your births, and the witnesses were just amazing. So seeing my first birth, I was just like, wow. Women, my respect. Obviously I've always respected women as a woman myself, but the respect for pregnant women and women who go through labor, yeah, you guys are the real MVPs, because it's not easy at all. Like, you're literally, when you hear labor and pushing a baby out, it's crazier than you can actually even imagine. It's just amazing, like a human coming out of a woman's vagina, like crazy. All my witnesses were amazing, and then after I got my 5 witnesses, on my 5th one, I actually put my hands on the midwife's hands while she was delivering the baby, or we were delivering the baby. And when I tell you, it was the most beautiful thing I've ever experienced. I didn't actually know it counted as one of my catches. So I was just like, got home and I was like, oh my gosh, guys, I put my hands on the midwife's hands. I can't wait to get my first catch. And then someone was like, that was your first catch. And I was like, what? It was amazing, like a little baby girl, and the family was just so cute. Obviously I can't give like details about them and stuff, but oh, it was just amazing. I got my second one in the same night, so literally walked out of that room, got my other sterile gloves on in the other room, and delivered a second baby. So it was just, that night was just like amazing. On the labour ward, I did see a lot. I saw a C-section, my first one, and can I just say, like, a C-section is no joke. The whole time I was just like, this is amazing. Like, they literally rip, okay, let me not scare people, but they open the body all the way down to the uterus and literally bring this baby out. My midwife that I was working with that night, she let me like get the baby from the doctors. I held the baby before the parents held the baby, and I just thought, that is so special. I also saw a forceps delivery. So this is where they use these sort of metal tongs to pull the baby out. It sounds very like scary, but I mean, it wasn't scary, it was very like interesting. As a student, when you see that things are getting a bit, you know, difficult, or the situation is becoming a bit dire, just take a step back. You're still allowed to be there, but just literally stand in the corner, watch what's going on, only intervene if they ask of anything from you. So yeah, that was my first like emergency situation where I just had to stand back and watch what was going on. One thing I will say, especially on the labour ward, I found is that the midwives really know how to work together and they've got each other's backs, which I really loved seeing. Like every midwife would be supportive of one another. If a midwife needed help, you know, they could call on their team, and whenever someone pressed the alarm bell, everyone would come running. And I know obviously like that's supposed to be what it's like, but not every working environment is like that. So it was very good to see how they all come together in like any sort of emergency situation. They're all there supporting each other. Still on labour ward, because I did see a lot, I also I guess unfortunately got to see the other side of midwifery, which is, you know, bereavement. So I did spend some time with a couple of families who sadly lost their babies. It was very tough, obviously way tougher for the families. You will surprise yourself as to how you just want to provide the best care for that woman and just want to make sure that she's as comfortable and, you know, the family are as comfortable as they can be in such a heartbreaking situation. It was interesting and really insightful to be in those, you know, situations and look after those women, and my heart goes out to them. I don't think I'll ever forget them. It was also an honor to be part of that, because, you know, there is such a specific time, and to like be there and just to be kind to these women is just really important during that time, and I felt like I was doing very important work. Finally, the last department that I also spent time with over the last 5 weeks was the postnatal antenatal ward. So in this ward, you have mostly postnatal patients, so women who've just had their babies, just had their C-sections, and they've come up from the labour ward, and they're now into the postnatal ward or the antenatal ward, which less patients than the postnatal patients, but those women who have been admitted for whatever, maybe they have a scheduled induction, or, you know, we want to monitor them for whatever reason. We do have beds in my hospital for that as well. Now this ward, also very fast paced. I would say my respect for midwives who work on the postnatal ward is up here, because it's not easy. Having a baby can leave you very sore. Most women can't do like as much as they want to do, so it's giving them a lot of support during this time that they're in hospital, helping them to, it could be something so simple as carrying their baby to them. I found that as a student on the postnatal ward, that's where I probably did the most, or you can make the most impact, because you can literally answer the call bell for every little thing. They can call you to just literally bring something to them because they had a C-section and they can't like move, or their legs are still numb. You can carry their baby to them, carry their baby while they've gone to the toilet. Support women with breastfeeding, with bottle feeding. You can support them with changing the baby, you know, giving advice. Some women may not know what's the best way to like change them. Some women may not know how many times to feed them. So all of that like theory information you have is really good for the women. We do observations on babies as well. So if babies had meconium when they were in the uterus, so meconium is basically poo. Some babies can actually, you know, poo in the uterus while they're still there, and that can be very dangerous because if they inhale it, it can lead to an intrauterine death or stillbirth. So what we do is when they're born, we do 4 hourly obs on the baby, just to check that everything is okay and nothing changes with their breathing, their heart rate, their temperature and everything. You can really help out with those as a student as well, while your midwife is like doing her notes or giving antibiotics or doing things that you can't do. You can help her with little jobs like observations, feeding, just supporting the women, giving information and things like that. So I did enjoy postnatal ward. It could get very stressful at times, I'm not gonna lie. On the antenatal ward, it's mainly just putting women on the CTG, and checking their observations as well, and the midwife can do an examination. Oh my gosh, I forgot to tell you guys, I did my first vaginal examination as well. I still don't know what I was feeling, I will be so honest with you guys. Obviously the more I do it, the more I'll know. But your first time, you're just not even knowing what's going on. My lady was 7 centimeters when I did my first examination. So I felt the head, but I really didn't know what else was going on. A woman isn't in established labour until she is 4 centimeters dilated. So until they're 4 centimeters dilated, and if they're admitted, they would be upstairs in my hospital upstairs on the antenatal ward, and when they are 4 centimeters, then we send them to labour ward to have their baby. I will say one thing I really got an insight into is the current staffing crisis in the NHS. If you haven't read the news or you haven't seen about it, then you know, read up on it. But yeah, it's a very real situation. So if you have a friend who works in healthcare, give them a hug, take them to dinner, like just tell them you appreciate them, because it's very hard. Like that's one of the things that really shocked me. So that was my first 5 weeks of placement, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you got a real insight into what my placement was like. I completely loved it. I won't lie, it was tiring but it was still very insightful, and I was so grateful to learn as much as I did. The midwives I worked with were absolutely amazing and taught me a lot, and were just willing to teach as well, because some people have bad experiences with midwives. So I was grateful that all of the people I worked with were amazing. That's all I have for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.